What's going on here, guys? Figured I'd give you an update with the longitudinal transmitter, and the reason I call it the longitudinal transmitter is because we're using SIDACs now, a higher power, higher voltage capable version of diacs. So at the voltage levels we're dealing with now, 500 volts plus at minimal current, the diacs can't handle what we're doing. They will fail. So I've switched to these little diacs now. Nice big switching capacitor here. I'll post on my YouTube community post section the exact circuit schematic for this. And yeah, basically the system, the transmitter, is becoming a very high voltage input system that focuses on very abrupt unidirectional DC switching, and we're trying to use enough negative resistance from the SIDACs to cancel out the inherent positive resistance within the transmitter to enable complete self-oscillation. And in theory, if we get that perfected just right, we should have output with virtually no current input. We should have wireless power output with virtually no current input requirement. What will occur is we will set up the condition for a sourceless field to exist. The entity would basically become a sourceless field entity based on a lot of the old books I'm reading, especially from D. Jeffermenko, and a lot of theories based off Ken Wheeler. So anyway, this is just a wireless coil per Tesla patent 336961, this yellow pickup coil. It's quarter the size of the transmitter. Nice big DC capacitor on it to store a charge. Now, I can't measure the frequency off this thing. The input is 500 volts DC at like 1 or 2 milliamps, not even. It consumes virtually no current. Ideally, it would consume no current. I had that one time when I was using diacs and the input was 80 volts or 90 volts. I have an old video showing that. It's like 3 or 4 videos ago where I got the system to basically spontaneously activate just from earth grounding it and having an antenna connection. And we would have very small amounts of wireless power. It got that efficient. So I'm trying to do that on a bigger, more powerful scale. And here's how it looks. The driving circuitry is getting very simple. Just a battery here, 12 volt DC, 6 amp hour, Lifey P04 battery. This resistor limits our current going into the ZVS module, 0 to 600 volt ZVS module, adjustable with that little knob here. That resistor is 10 ohms, limits the current, and the funny thing is, a 10 ohm resistor shouldn't limit the current as much as it is, but for some reason this resistor really helps the overall circuit dynamics in this RLC circuit. 20 watt, 300 ohm cement resistor, overkill but needed if you experiment with higher power. Again, I'll post a circuit diagram in the YouTube community post. Just a current meter to show you the current consumption, and I'll turn the system on, and it takes a minute to build up charge. Not sure if you can hear it on, but here's the current consumption of the system. I'll zoom in on it, and I'll toggle the system on and off. We consume nearly no current, but yet we have output. So, it's not quite as perfect as I want it, but it's pretty damn good. Zoom the camera back out, and we have a wireless output. The key to getting that output was the SIDACs and the correct capacitors. And here's something very interesting. You can touch this. Doesn't hurt at all. It's like a form of electricity that won't hurt you at all. And it makes a very interesting sound. I'll zoom in on that happening. Not sure if you can hear that, but doesn't hurt at all, and it makes like a whiny sound. So very interesting. It can also spin up motors So we can run a motor at nearly no power consumption, and the motor's probably gonna start aggressively. Gonna have to probably shut this off and then start the motor. Anyway, I gotta get this thing going. There we go. Should kick on. There we go. So we have a motor running with nearly no input. That's our voltage. That's our current consumption in the system. Yet we can run a motor because of the big capacitor here, and we still have wireless power output that exhibits near magic-like properties with loadless wireless power effects. And I can use this output to recharge a 9-volt battery very quickly. And if I adjust that coil into the correct position, that 9-volt battery will recharge very quickly. So we have real output here. We have real usable output at virtually no input on top of near magic, loadless-like wireless power effects. So very interesting. That motor is spinning away happy. I might push for higher voltages, but and I might sell this entire thing as a kit for $499, just due to the ZVS module, the battery, the labor of building it. The receiver coil might come as extra, or I might include the receiver coil. I'm not sure yet. I'm thinking about a $500 kit for these guys. We're kind of hurting on finances at the moment with the cost of living, at least here in Massachusetts, and the stuff going on with my job. But I would like to eventually make MTech my full focus, and to do so, we really need the Patreon to pull in at least $3K a month, anywhere from $3 to $5K a month. So feel free to like, comment, subscribe, join the Patreon, buy our book, which is only $5 on the Patreon. Condenses a lot of electrical engineering points for you guys to help you out. So again, the exact schematic for this will be on our community post. We hold nothing back. We're open source. Our goal, which is in our YouTube description, is to create the correct generator arch form due to negative resistance canceling out all positive resistance in the circuit. And we want to create a generator arch form that has output with virtually no input, being current consumption. So in theory, if we can achieve that, we'll have output with no input other than voltage potentials. And by using the correct feedback components inherent in the structure, we should be able to have a generator that outputs power with no input and the driving battery never drains. That would be ideal. I'm not sure if self-looping will ever work. It should work in theory, but I think the better solution will be to properly construct the generator arch form to have output with no input, or somehow the negative resistant oscillation cycles return their power back to the battery and there's no net drain. It's no power consumption overall, but yet you have output due to the way we constructed the transmitter, the way we grounded it. And I don't even have an antenna connection hooked up to this anymore. This coil is the antenna. So loosely coupling everything is important. You can see how the side ACK is connected. And I'll try and measure a frequency for you guys with this thing. I have tried for days to get a frequency off this thing. I can't get one anymore when this... Oh, that's actually a blown light. I can't get a frequency anymore off this thing at all. And this thing is actually moving air. I can feel it. Not too bad. It's actually not half bad. So basically the capacitor is running our load wirelessly. We are decoupled. We're using high voltage, minimal current to drive the transmitter, and we are loosely coupled and decoupled, harvesting the wireless power from that with no load present on the system. When this is running, the transmitter doesn't feel the load, which is very interesting. So we're very close to being there. We need slightly better side acts, which I'm going to try and get, but money's very tight. So if you guys want to buy this as a kit or send donations, feel free to. I told you the goals of the research. We're not just like aimlessly wandering here. I told you our goal of creating the correct transmitter that has output with no input, being current consumption. And we solve that problem with the correct amount of negative resistance and nonlinearity. So now I will try and take a reading on the circuit, and I can't even measure a frequency. Or if I see anything, it looks like a very abrupt spiked waveform, and I can't lock onto a frequency. And I've been trying to measure this thing for days. The side acts are contributing to very sharp transients in the system. Very nonlinear sharp transients. So that's why I called it the transmitter now a longitudinal transmitter, because it's highly transient in nature. The waveforms are very nonlinear. They might not even be electromagnetic, being so nonlinear, because they're very abrupt. I believe that could be the key. And there's also a theory I'm wrong on everything I'm saying, but I always act on my hunches when I build this stuff, and it's been pretty good so far. People say the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results, but what we're doing different is I've never had a voltage input this high before into the transmitter. That's what's different, and what else is different is the implementation of the side acts and the goal of trying to add enough negative resistance to cancel out all positive resistance in the system. So if you guys have further ideas how to make this even better, feel free. It's a big open group project. Everyone's ideas are welcome. And like I said, money's tight. You guys want to donate, feel free to. If not, I understand. I think that's everything I wanted to show and explain. Just give an update with the system. It can run, the receiver coil can run anything here for a load. It can run motors, inductive loads, resistive loads, LEDs, rapidly recharge a 9-volt to then run whatever you want for a time. And the input to this now is very high voltage. The highest voltage I've ever had at minimal current consumption. And I could get the current consumption even lower if I had slightly better side acts. I have to keep experimenting. They take a while to come in. The side acts are a little hard to get. A little harder than getting the diacts. But I can basically probe anywhere in the circuit here, and I just won't really get a frequency lock on the system. Or it will completely distort my oscilloscope to the point where it hardly works right. And my oscilloscope is crashing now from the system. I don't want to damage my scope. So I can't measure the frequency. That's why I have the hunch it's highly longitudinal. And like I said, I touch this. It will make the spark will make an audible sound, but I don't get shocked in any way. I don't even feel that at all. I feel nothing when I touch that, but yet there's a spark with an audible sound. And sometimes the spark is either a bright purple in appearance or pure white, depending on tuning if I slide that coil. And I've never seen a pure white spark before. And the key is the highly abrupt switching of the side acts, creating that. Because if I were to connect the power now for the transmitter, not at the side act point, we have no output, it won't work. So there's nothing. Nothing at all. It needs the switching of the side act. Now it starts up. Kind of whiny when it starts up. But yeah, figured that's what I wanted to show. Thank you, everyone. I'll shut the system off. And then it just fades down. So that's that. And just having this thing on and off messes with my speaker system in my room, which is funny, even though it's using the absolute most minimal power possible. And somehow it messes with electronics in an entire area. And even if I do this, this is the near magic-like effects with the system. That kind of range is just odd and phenomenal. And running loads this way does not place an electrical strain on the transmitter whatsoever. It's somehow completely decoupled. And for those who doubt the transmitter was doing that, I'll switch it off, and this won't happen again. The light is not glowing at all. So, very interesting. Turn it back on again. For all the doubters out there, you'll see the light light up in my hand when I switch it on. Switched on. So, the transmitter is acting almost nearly magical. So I figured I'd show that, display that. Again, to sum it up, I'll most likely sell this as a kit for $500, maybe $550, and include the coil for the cost of labor of building it. And yeah, basically we're still trying to push forward, hurting on money a bit, but it is what it is. Everyone goes through hardships in life. You guys want to donate, that'd be amazing. You can donate to the Patreon and even buy the book for $5 or join one of our Patreon tiers. It's all open source research. The kits we sell, I don't expect the wait time to be longer than anywhere from 1 to 3 months, maybe even quicker than that, depending on what you get. If you want an experimental generator board kit, that can take anywhere from 1 to 24 months before it ships out. But ideally it should ship out a lot quicker. So everything can be bought on our Patreon if you want to buy something. I have to add this to the Patreon on the shop page, but if you guys want to join the Patreon, that'd be a huge help for the research. So figured I'd show that. I already explained our goals, give you a good look at everything, and I could probably get the system to be even more efficient with shorter leads, keeping all the leads as short as possible, keeping everything as clean as possible, and maybe slightly tuning the capacitors, but as you see, we're hardly consuming any current. So we're almost getting a system where we have output with no input other than voltage potentials at no current consumption. And I'll even show, we've seen that it ran a motor, no problem. We've seen it run the LED, no problem. No problem at all. I can run very bright, very strong loads and pulses with this thing. I could even add twice the capacitance here, DC capacitance, and pulse it, and we have very high power. I can even run an incandescent load briefly in a pulse. This is a 20 watt, 12 volt incandescent load. So that'll run for just a split second, and then it will die out from the capacitor. So I fully connected it. We still aren't consuming really any power because that coil, the wireless pickup coil, is completely decoupled from the transmitter due to the fact we have a highly nonlinear waveform due to the side axe. We have a negative resistant, abrupt, unidirectional, spiked DC waveform, which is the key to decoupling cause from effect in this transmitter. I guess you could call it the spooky action at a distant transmitter. So our output is essentially, our non-coupled output is essentially dead shorted to a resistive load that it can't run, but yet we still have wireless power output with no drag or input drain on the transmitter. And you're seeing that here, the near magic-like wireless power properties of the system. Very interesting. So again, I'll hook up a LED. We've seen the motor run for a while now. LED, no problem. And you can even slide adjust the coil here to get it brighter or dimmer, and that doesn't affect the input drain at all. So if you're building this, a few key tips. 10 ohm 5 watt carbon film resistor. Have to use carbon film. So that's a 10 ohm 5 watt carbon film resistor, limiting the input into the ZVS, 0 to 600 volt adjustable ZVS. 20 watt 300 ohm cement resistor off the high voltage output of the ZVS with a 10 NF capacitor in resonance going in to the transmitter. Passes through one SIDAC. I forgot the value of that capacitor, but I will put it in the schematic on my YouTube community post. The full circuit schematic will be there on the YouTube community post. And this receiver coil is just a center tap Tesla coil. The two output wires get brought together with two diodes that join in the middle. The center of the coil is the negative output, no diode connection. The ends of the two coils that have the diodes is the positive output. This is a highly resonant decoupled coil. They're kind of a pain in the ass to make, but not really. Just got to build it very carefully and slowly. So that's pretty bright. That LED is very bright. And again, we're hardly using any input to achieve that. I'll toggle the power on and off. As you can see, we're hardly using any input to do that. I think maybe 1 or 2 milliamps to do that. And I'll show you our voltage input. Ideally, you're supposed to measure the voltage input without the transmitter hooked up, because the transmitter produces interference. A lot of longitudinal interference. Try and zoom the screen out a little. Put the light on. Let you see the high voltage output. So the transmitter is being fed with 317 volts. And I could crank that up to 500. And the higher voltage you tune the transmitter for, the higher that capacitor has to be between the base and emitter of the transistor to make the system more efficient. So I showed the voltage going into it. We've never had voltage this high going into our transmitter before. It seems the higher voltage you input into it, if you can keep compensating and keeping the system highly efficient and resonant with the correct value capacitors and SIDACs for that very efficient triggering, you're in business. So just take the system slow if you reproduce it. Take it slow, step by step. Another good look at everything. And the exact schematic will be on our YouTube channel's community post page. And funny thing is, I have a lot of people too asking me to give them the book for free. Like, the book's $5, guys. I mean, come on. And I'm hurting for money real bad. Like, I'm just about to lose my job, and they cut my hours to 2 days a week, and I used to be full-time. It's like, nothing's free in this world. I put all my effort into accumulating all this useful data in one handy spot, as well as being a guide. So I think $5 is pretty reasonable. You can't even get a cheese pizza in my area for less than $20. So $5 is pretty damn reasonable for a price. And that's very bright. Again, nearly no power consumption. And I can recharge this battery, no problem. I might even mount this battery here, but then people will probably say in later videos, oh, well, it's your battery running everything, not that coil. Well, yeah, but the coil is very rapidly recharging the battery, which is energy storage, that then runs your loads. And in theory, you have more output power over time than your input, because again, the goal of the system is a generator arch form that has output with minimal input. The goal is output with zero input, being zero current drain, just potentials. So that's that. And even asking advanced AI chatbots and research AIs, they said everything that I'm trying to achieve should fully be possible and doesn't break the laws of physics in any way. So that's that. And ultimately, it has to work, because I'm probably going to sound a little crazy here, but ultimately, all of this has to work in some way, because what do you think powers the UFOs or UAPs? And I know that sounds crazy. The UFO spaceships that you can see what was it? David Fravor saw one of those UFOs, very close-up, good footage, FLIR footage or something, and the crafts are completely cold and have crazy capabilities, and they're most likely powered by generators that have output with no input due to negative resistance, and they're probably non-electromagnetic generators. They're probably longitudinal. Again, I'm just guessing. This is all theory, all speculation. Take it with a grain of salt. But yeah, all this stuff has to work somehow. I'm explaining everything. Kind of a long video. And yeah, I'm going to sell this as a kit. And thank you, everyone. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe. Join the Patreon. Think I summed it up. We can't exactly measure the frequency. I could be completely wrong on it, being in a longitudinal mode of operation, but I get the hunch it is. One more thing I'll show you, if I can find it, is when the system is finely tuned and finely perfect, it almost gets near magic-like properties, being an emergent phenomenon, meaning all the components act more than the sum of their parts. Like, I'm doing this too, and there's zero effect on the system. That fluorescent tube is still very dimly lit, just being near the battery. I think it'll even light near the coil, but the light's drowning it out. This is very dimly lit here. Very visible if I touch the circuit, actually. And that's just a fluorescent tube. So that's very interesting. And again, thank you, everyone. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, join the Patreon, help out the research. And again, to sum it up, our goal is to create the correct generator arch form that has output with no input. And the output is due to the negative resistance canceling out the positive resistance in the circuit, enabling self-oscillation from just voltage potentials only at no current consumption, creating a device that outputs wireless power with near magic-like properties, which we're kind of seeing here. And again, the try and get you a good look at that. Oh, and I'll show you too that the system is highly active, and you can see it with a little neon bulb. You can see that the system is highly active. Neon bulb is glowing. In fact, that light is kind of drowning it out, but the entire system is very active. Even the battery and ZVS, everything. There's a massive field around this device. A massive longitudinal field. The neon bulb is even slightly glowing near every part of the circuit, everything. So that's that. And I spoke about everything I wanted to. That's even really bright now. So that's what we're looking at. And this output is in a spiked waveform that can rapidly recharge batteries. Works well with a 9-volt, and if you properly slide adjust the coil, it'll work very good. Not sure if you can hear it changing in pitch and intensity as I slide adjust it. Brightest right about here. And if you work with this stuff, be careful, because if you don't get it in the longitudinal mode of operation, the shocks will send you on your ass. Like right now I can touch it because it's in the longitudinal mode of operation. I'm completely fine. It's safe to touch, safe to handle. I can touch any part. Nothing happens at all because we're in the longitudinal mode of operation. But if this wasn't in the longitudinal mode of operation and I touched this, I would get launched across the room and sent on my ass. And the key to achieve that is the correct value capacitor here. So, again, thank you, everyone, and we will see you on the next one. Trying to keep the video under 30 minutes, and if you can, feel free to donate. Join our main way you can help us is to join our Patreon, and that LED is actually giving off some heat. So thank you. We will see you again.